Now, extractor fans, yes? We got 2 Hoovers on the house here, yeah?
Yeah.
They're thumping good. Perhaps a little bit too good. However, I err on the urge of caution to anyone who has a wooden floor and might suspect that you have a mold problem coming from underneath your house, because you might live with a housing association that's very good at coming out and putting damp paint everywhere and covering over all of the anti-mold paint that they've got everywhere, and they're good at covering it, you know. Put pot plants over burns and stuff like this, yeah? So, if you suspect it, I'm going to err you on the verge of caution that perhaps opening a window and allowing sideways airflow through your house is far more important for your health and all of your families that reside inside your building. Here's the kicker about this. Extractor fans are very good if you live in a mold-free environment, but if you live in a moldy environment, they are dangerous for your health. Let's go through it, and we got to understand these are the walls of the house, yes?
Yeah.
This is your flooring, your wooden flooring. And these are your like foundations underneath, if you want to call it that, your massive concrete slab or sand or whatever it may be, yes? That reside underneath your house. Now, usually an extractor fan sucks the air from your house. Give it a flat roof, even though we don't have flat roofs, but depending if it's in this room here and it's venting out of here, right? And you've got to be very careful, because there are some snidey housing associations out there and some really good ones, but some that just do not care about health. All they care about is profit and more profit. Now, I'm going to change the colour of the pen if I can, because I don't think I got another. Oh, you might do. You will do, hopefully, if it hasn't run out like the other.
Yeah.
Now, when you've got wooden flooring, right, and you've got a lot of cracks in between your floor, so your floorboards tend to look like this. You know the wooden ones, especially if you're on ground floor and you have lots of wooden flooring, yes?
Yeah.
You've got these gaps in between. If you have a leak or splitting foundations, I don't know what this bit is called. I can't remember what it's called. Now, if you've had rodents, you can bet anything money you like, they've tunneled under your house and come through under the floorboards. If they have, and you have rodents, they will chew through this rubber layer in as quick as anything else. Not only that, if the house is beginning to crack in certain areas and you live in a wet area, when we put a kettle on, we are speeding up the environment is what we're doing, and we're fast boiling it and all the steam comes out, right? When the sun is out, yeah, nice supernova sun on this one, and it hits the heat on here, and this is your soil level out here. All of the surrounding air is hot, right?
Yeah.
This is hot. Everything seems to be hot. The top layer of soil is hot.
Yeah.
Here is cold. Heat and thermal radiation radiates into cooler objects, right?
Yeah.
If you understand a little bit about thermal radiation, I believe it's called, or thermal, when all of this is hot, it isn't going to radiate into this. It's not going to radiate into this. It's going to radiate into the cooler area. Now, why is that a problem? Well, if you've got water or moisture around these areas, which you will do, it is going to, not like a kettle, it will do it a little bit more slower, but it's still there. Even if you take a bottle of water and you put it outside with half amount of water in it, it begins to sweat condensate the top of the bottle. No difference will happen here. It will still condensate all underneath your floorboards and different things like that. If you've got a leaking toilet, in our case, there's a leaking toilet. This bit at the back here, where all the waste goes out, I am almost sure it is leaking, okay? I'm not going to get all hung up about it, because, you know, it smells like a caravan chemical toilet when they get a little too full. You might not have emptied it for a couple of weeks. You get what I mean. Anyone that's ever been in a caravan will understand exactly the smell I'm on about. That's what it smells like here in this house. Now, anyway, the problem is that when it gets hot, it radiates into this and it begins to condensate everything under here. This leads to the growth of M-O-U-L-D, mold. And especially black mold. which is the worst kind that you can ever get. You'll get a symptom of headaches, you'll feel fatigued, you'll feel very weak. Now, let's say the temperature begins to get a little bit more colder in the environment, and these pools or whatever, the moisture here, you get mold growth underneath your boards. And when you turn your extractor fan on, guess where? If all your windows are shut in a cold environment, because winter's now coming, it's all cold now. Summer did the trick really in basically letting this moisture, and then you have the spread of black mold. It's very dangerous, it's very toxic. Now we got these cracks in between our floorboards, and we've just turned on our extractor. Where do you think that air is going to come from? Well, you're going to have very porous brickwork down here, and you are going to have holes in it. It's not going to, its integrity is all gone. The airflow is going to come up, and you'll think, oh, it's just going out. Yes, but if you, the person, is walking in all of this air that's moving, you are breathing those spores because it has dried out. When mold dries, it releases spores. I believe that's how you spell it.
Yeah, that's how you spell it.
And you are going to breathe these in. Another sign, your nose. Your nose will be continuously full and it will start to congest a lot. Decongest? Not really sure.
Congest.
Congest.
Yeah, getting full.
You will begin to have
leaking.
Continuous migraines. You are not going to feel great, and if you've got kids in this environment as well, you won't see it on the walls. You won't see it here because they've painted anti-mold paint on all your walls and all your ceilings. But you yourself is not anti-mold. Do you know how much this puts a strain on our NHS? Do you know how much of a strain this keeps putting on our NHS? Doctors are hard working and trying to figure out where all of this comes from. But your housing association will say it's a you problem. It's because you cook in the house. It's because you have barbs in the house. It's because you shower in a house. It's because you dry laundry in a house. I can assure you back in the day they didn't have tumble dryers, and they seem to have never had a problem with mold. Not like we're seeing in today's world.
Yeah.
The environment has changed. And what? We're going through droughts every single year, but yet your houses seem to keep moulding up. With no reason as to why they're doing it. Well, because they've just hidden all of these cracks underneath your floor. They're not looking at anything splitting in the foundation work. They might come out to your kitchen and lay down some damp proof.
A new lino.
A new lino over it, along with another lino, and it's again, it's a you problem. This is the part that housing associations don't like, is when you bring science into it. And when the science starts to hard hit you, you find it very hard, and you can get the best solicitor in the world if you want, but they are not going to be able to argue with the facts of what goes on inside many, many people's houses. And I'm surprised that most of these housing associations have been given houses because they are that toxic and they wouldn't want them to go to the working class or anybody else like that. If you've got cracks in your foundation, you've got an issue, a big one, one that is secretly going away, running away underneath your house. And no, this is not the answer. This damp course is not the answer, because you've got wooden floors. You don't think that that gap, that space under there must be all blocked off, right? Oh, it must be all blocked. Oh, it's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. It's not all blocked. And underneath your wooden flooring, you've got cracks. And I don't think that anybody, because I think this is discrimination personally, because you might be homeless, so accept it and don't whinge. Or because you might be on benefits. Again, I find this discriminative. Really, this is discrimination. And it isn't just for me, it's for many other people. If you can't look after the health and well-being of people, then you should not be in control of an association at all. Not at all. And I think that it should be fundamental that a council that takes money for environmental health should go around and check for these issues.
Yeah.
Now, If you've got a cracking foundation, and now we're looking at it from a helicopter view, we've got a crack that starts to run here and across here. It's not the end of the world. You have to rip the first layer of flooring up and get to this. Then you're going to need to pin it. You'll need to fill it. This problem ain't going to go away. Even if you were to just fill it and walk away, it needs monitoring yearly. After it's been filled, expand and foam in another layer of nice lovely concrete on it. The reason why this is doing it, we'll get onto that in a second. It's going to need pinning either side, literally a metal bar that is tacked into one side and the other, and you might say that might start cracking along there. There is a high propensity that that might happen. But take the walls. This needs lacing up in order to stop the separation. The fact is, this equals that the house should have been built on piles. The foundation work should have been built on piles. It means that you have a layer of topsoil that is moving. When it begins to move, and it's maybe not moving in the same direction, it very rarely moves in the same direction, by the way. It moves in multiple different directions, and it is very strange to see it. And I'll say, oh, it's because of clay and it pressed. Well, if there was all of this stuff underneath the house, then the people that built the house didn't check properly then, did they? They were meant to check. No, it means that you would need to pull out a rig and